Hi, my name is Tumi Adeyemi. I am the founder and CEO of Zeno Lynk Technology Limited. We're a smart mobility service provider. We believe that we can put structure around the mass mobility or public transportation system in the country and other developing countries around the world. We are equally responsible for building the technology that manages Lagos Ride. Those SUVs painted in white and blue that you see on the streets of Lagos, yes, we are responsible for that. I'm a graduate of civil engineering from the Federal University of Technology. I moved into consumer technology in year 2012 after my youth service, and it's been an interesting journey since then. I'm passionate about reading. I like to observe people. I believe that the obvious is not always the truth. I also believe in managing relationships well with people. All right. Okay, to tell the story behind Lag Ride, we'll have to first of all tell the story behind Zeno. So, like I said, I didn't start off trying to be a tech bro, like we are called these days. My journey started in 2005 when I first came into Lagos, and I came with my friend, and we were trying to get from Maryland, Mende in Maryland to Ikeja, and we took one of those yellow cabs, and they charged us 1,000 naira. 2005, that same trip where I was coming from in Akure would have been 30 naira. My school fees in Federal University of Technology per session, by the way, was about 7,000 plus. So paying 1,000 naira for that trip was a substantial. I mean, it dropped a big question in my mind and in my head. I kept saying, "What is wrong with you people here?" And by the way, it was my first time in Lagos, by the way. And I'm like, "What is wrong with you people here? Why are you spending this much money on this?" In fact, my bus fare from Akure to Lagos was about 1,200, which is like a 3.5 hours journey. This trip took us less than 30 minutes. It was even on a Sunday, there was no traffic, right? And so the idea of mobility dropped in my head then, but not in this way. 2005, we didn't have access to technology and all of these things. And I remembered my friend telling me at some point during Fashola's administration when the state had set up the corporate cars, those new cars, Nissan cars, told me that, oh, that thing you were discussing that they've started it here. And I'm like, oh, finally, good, because I, I didn't think it was possible that me, first time coming from Akure, will be the one that will come and spot the problem and opportunity in Lagos. That was like next 100 level. What do you know, right? And I was happy because I really felt like I was mad. I really felt like there had to be something that I was not seeing that the people here actually see. And then fast forward to 2012, I had finished I was doing my service and I was interning with this guy called David Price, who was great. I was a great developer. He was building all sorts of things, and he was explaining to me the how the business of technology works. You know, just away from the engineering, the business of consumer technology, the relationship between VCs and founders and all of those things. And all I could hear or see was opportunities and a whole lot of money. And I'm like, okay, this looks like something I would like to dabble into. Somewhere along the line, I was in an interview for someone's book, one of my mentors, and he mentioned Uber. That was the first time I would hear about Uber. And he was explaining, how black taxis in London were upset that Uber had come in to disrupt their business. And after that interview, I remember sitting down and spending the next couple of years from that day understanding and understudying Uber because that was the missing piece between what I had dreamt of and the solution that I wanted to deploy. And from there, I put together my team and I remember saving up my first $3,000 to pay someone from India to build my first version, almost like a mock-up. And I was going around presenting to anybody that would listen to me. And a few did listen. And in 2019, we started out with a bus solution and we called it Zeno bus, right? The idea was we understood the problems. So if we can create a schedule system for buses, right? And ensure that the pickup, right, or the point of of interaction with the buses are not nuisance points, i.e., the bus stops, right? People might be more interested in taking buses. So instead of your regular bus stops, we were talking to everybody that owned private car parks around those bus stops. But of course, I didn't have the money to buy a lot of buses, and I had no investors with deep pockets enough to back what I was doing. So we got only one bus from one lady, right? The bus was black and but it was nice, had AC and all of that, of course, but it was not brand new. So we had issues. I remember on the first day, the bus broke down on the road. We were going to pick people up and it broke down. We were the one causing traffic, and I felt so drained, right? So this was early 2019, and it was very important for us because in that period, one of the things that we saw was people were willing to pay for anything that will allow them escape the negative experience of standing at bus stops. So we had a private loading bay at Aja and another one at Adeyemi. People used to take bike from Marina to come to Adeyemi to join our bus to go to Aja. So it wasn't even about the money because the bike from Marina the bike fare from Marina to Adeyemi is already more than what it would cost you to go from Marina straight to Aja. So we had a schedule based system. The bus would leave by a particular time. Either it's filled up or not. So for those two reasons, the fact that it's comfortable, nobody's going to be shouting at you, harassing you. Everything is pre-booked on your app, right? So once you come in, you just almost like you're booking a flight. You just come in, you sit down. 5 p.m., boom, we move. And we did that for a couple of months, right? I mean, there were challenges, right? Because the bus was not brand new, it kept breaking down. I remember one morning we were bringing people from Aja. Oh, by the way, people who were staying in VGC used to take bikes back into Aja, or they would tell us they would meet us in front, we should just pick them. It was very funny, and these are workers, right? I remember one of those scenarios where I picked people up, about seven of them, and then the bus broke down. It was early in the morning. People were rushing off to work. I had to order an Uber to take them on. And I mean, I remember going to the bus parks to talk to all the bus owners, the interstate transport operators. Give me your buses that are no longer fit for interstate operation. The ones you want to retire, bring them to me. Let's see if we can repair them. We put them on the system and all of that. It was just essentially nobody wanted to touch public transportation, right? That's just the summary of it. Then this administration, by the time this administration came on board, I think sometime in June or July, I saw an ad on Twitter, Eco Innovation Center, Eco Traffic Challenge. If you have an idea that you think can solve or reduce the traffic congestion in Lagos State, come and pitch. Price tag $5 million. Prior to this time, I had I had responded to about any pitch session that has been sent out. The answer was always the same: no. Thank you for this, but sorry. Thank you for this. It got to a time, anytime they respond, I'm not even reading. I'm just scanning through to look for the but or the however or the sorry. Once you just see that, you. If I remember one where I was head hunted, like I was on my own, and this person, a white guy, I don't know how he found me or something, sent me a message on LinkedIn. He likes what I'm doing. He's working for this company. They're trying to this, and that. We had meetings, blah blah blah. I should do the pitch. I did the pitch, sent it. The rest is a story, right? So against all odds, I'm like, well, the worst they can do is tell me no. I've already heard no severally, so one more no does not kill me. So we went in for the pitch, and lo and behold, we emerged top three out of about 3,000 um, applications that went in. And from the top three, they were going to pick one or two, right? So I remember going in for the pitch, and um, it was quite intense. For some weird reasons, we were the last to go in to defend our pitch before the panel. And everybody that went before us spent like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. My turn, 2 hours, we were still going. It's like just just going and just going. The questions kept coming in. Questions kept coming in, and in my head, I'm like, don't worry, I'm prepared for this. I've been doing this since I've had this is my I have a dream moment. I've been on this since 2005. There is nothing you want to ask me about this that I've not thought about or that I've not given some sort of consideration. And so we emerged the winner of that alongside one other startup. And so when when this was happening, I mean, we didn't even know there was a plan, that Lagos State had a plan around Lagos, right? We didn't know that. So they had gone to China, and they had decided that it was good to set up a local assembly plant between Lagos State government and Choice International Group, right? The franchise owners of GAC brand. So the cars are an offshoot of that joint venture agreement. So Lagos State felt, hey, okay, let us try and also intervene in the mobility space. Who is there? Oh, these guys, they did this, and that's how we got on the table for Lagos Ride. And I must confess that it has been an extremely rewarding, intense, and exciting journey for myself and my team because we went from begging for buses to now supervising a fleet of brand new SUVs and sedans. It's the glow up is just, yeah. Number one, the market is extremely capital intensive. For you to be successful in this market, you need a lot of capital. So, arguably, one of the biggest leverages we had was the intervention of the state, right? Putting 1,000 cars within your control. So, every other service provider does not have control over their assets. You wait to literally lure people who own their assets to come to join your platform, right? So, you are at their whims and caprices. It is whatever they decide to do that you have to flow with. So the most you can do is set standards around the type of car you want, model, and all of that. You saw other service providers started out with that, and then at some point everything dropped because you don't have control over it. The cost, liability, and the cost of owning and operating those assets are not on. We also people always say that Nigeria will humble you. It's those things because there are things if you are not here, you do not know they exist. You understand? So we knew all the things that would likely happen, right? So with drivers, for example, what are likely things that drivers would do? So you know that your drivers would try and game your system. And it's not because they are corrupt or anything, it's just how we are hardwired as a people. Your driver will try and get somebody else to drive First and foremost, the fact that the car is brand new and you are giving it at a lower cost point means that a lot of people will come up to show interest and pose as drivers, whereas all they just want is a brand new car that they can take and zoom, just disappear, right? So we needed to first of all create a lot of controls around who can even access this in the first place, right? And then we started interrogating and investigating the peculiarities of all the stakeholders. What is the most important thing to the rider today? The sense of having a voice. If something happens to me and I make a report, does anybody respond? Do you get a response? As we can see so far, it gets so bad that they end up calling out these service providers on social media for, things that, why would you not even respond to this? So the first thing we ensure that we made very clear is if anybody reports any of our drivers, sometimes personally I even get to call. I ensure that an email is sent. This is what is done to this person. This is. And sometimes we dismiss those drivers and put it out there so that you can see that you have a voice. And now it is not us picking the rider over the driver. No, the driver also have a voice. And that's why we have dashboard cameras in our cars. When anything happens, it's not about I said, you said. No, it's not hearsay anymore. We basically pull up those footages and we can all see. And it is then you begin to realize that human beings are human beings. They are going to be. Drivers make a lot of requests from us. Sometimes there is an emergency, they need loans, they need this. To the best of our ability, we make these things available to them. Why? Because we also recognize that at the end of the day, they are the most important stakeholders. Even if you have a brand new Mercedes as your car, if your driver gives the rider a terrible experience, the brand new Mercedes pales to irrelevance, right? It is that experience that becomes the brand experience to that person. So if you don't keep them happy, if you don't make them fulfilled, trust me, the last thing you want behind the wheel is a disgruntled driver. Yeah. Thank you. So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that this operation is a Lagos State scheme, right? And Lagos State named it, yeah, based on how the state team fits. However, technology is not limited to Lagos. So the technology that powers Lagride is Zeno, which is our technology. So it is white labeled to Lagos State as Lagride. So if we are ever expanding outside of Lagos State, right, it will be there under a different nomenclature, but not as Lagos Ride. But that does also not stop Lagos Ride as an entity from venturing out to try and make investment or take on opportunities in other regions also. Just to fit in. Oh yes, you are always going to be changing. So I always tell people technology is like when you build a mobile app, it's like you've given birth to a child. You it evolves because you're going to be seeing user behavior, you're going to be seeing how people are responding to what your initial designs, your assumptions and requirements. And you can design something for it to be on top and people are using it for something completely different and you're like, oh okay, this is how you guys are using this. I remembered once we wanted people to give us information about something and then it was in their profile but nobody was going there, right? And it was extremely crucial to the business. So we had to pull it out from profile and put it in your sign up requirements, and we got what we wanted. So if you are not keeping your eye on the ball to keep every day, you have to keep looking at the data you are seeing to understand if they are in alignment with your own plans and your expectations. Actually, it's just a matter of time and will. Nothing really is stopping Lagride from becoming the number one. And that's where we are going. It's a race to become the best, to become the preferred service provider. Of course, it comes with its own considerations. You must have adequate supply to be able to meet that demand. You must have also cultivated the demand enough to ensure that um, the demand knows that you are the brand to deal with and all of that. So every business is driven by unit economics and what your cost profile is. In designing the cost profile of Lagride, we were very clear as to um, what our considerations would be. One of the most important things we did was to implement ride sharing because we saw two things that were happening in the economy. One, purchasing power was significantly dropping, right? And inflation, I mean, the inflation rate has just gone, has just ballooned, right? If purchasing power is dropping, what that means is people will continue to prioritize more in favor of things that are fundamental and functional. So that was the first thing we saw. The second thing we also saw is cost of operation and maintenance will keep increasing. It's not going to come down. So it is it's a conundrum. If purchasing power is dropping and cost is increasing, that is recipe for disaster. Because what it means, even if you drop price to meet purchasing power that is dropping, your underlying cost of operation is not going to respond to that. It means you have to keep subsidizing, right? So we know for a fact that at some point in front that people are going to be forced to take tough decisions, right? Which is why we implemented ride sharing. With ride sharing does two things for us. In fact, three things. Number one, ride sharing will try and reduce congestion on the road. And by ride sharing, if you do that, you will pay less as a user. What that means is I'm able to bring service requirements or the fee to enjoy a mobility to enjoy mobility, right? I'm able to bring it lower to a point that is more responsive to your purchasing power. And thirdly, the driver earns more from ride sharing. So you pay less per head, the driver earns more because all of you are together. So it nets off the cost that is increasing. And then because we're in a fleet, it's easier to negotiate bulk discounts around the things that might be driving up your costs. So those are the things that we have put in place to ensure that we are not reactive to um, market fluctuations. Um, I would like to appreciate Startup Lagos for this opportunity. One of the things I would like to leave with Lagosians is we should look out for a time of excellent service. This is not a sprint, it is a marathon. We've just started. We are not yet perfect. We welcome all feedbacks because it is in those feedbacks that we will learn what is working and what is not working. It is from the criticisms that we would find strength and growth. So we want you to please interact with Lagos Ride as much as you can and share your experience with us. We are open to them. We will take them. We would evaluate them and make all the necessary adjustments as we deem fit. Like we always say, Lagos Ride is a service built by Lagosians for Lagosians. Thank you very much.